All right, guys, in today's video, I'm going to be doing something a little bit different, a bit more lighthearted, but I'm going to be ranking different types of content for its ability to generate leads for any type of coaching or info offer. So let me know if you guys like this new format. It's going to be a little bit more casual, let's say, than my usual stuff. So I'm keen to see if you guys like it. And I'm honestly just going to be doing this like without thinking about it beforehand. I obviously had to come up with the list, but I didn't really arrange them in my head. So I'm going to be doing this live in real time and kind of showing you my thought process and where I kind of stand in terms of different types of content. So down here, we have all the different things that you could possibly post. Not every single thing, but a bunch of stuff. And then I'm going to show you where I think it goes on this ladder. S tier obviously being the best, A, B, C, D, kind of straightforward. And before I get into this, I also want to preface that getting views and generating leads are two completely different things. So even if something is good for getting views, it doesn't mean that you're going to get a bunch of leads. And of course, you need a certain level of attention before you can get any leads. But I want to make that distinction clear before anybody gets triggered in the comments, because that's important. And so you need a bit of both, but this is purely lead gen type videos. So just want to make that clear. Anyways, the first thing we're going to be looking at is trendy sounds. So trendy sounds would be anything where it's like, those sounds that you hear for those 2-week periods where everybody is doing that dance, or not dance, but that trend. I'm going to put that probably at C, just because generally, for the most part, they're not anything where you change somebody's belief or kind of get them to want to work with you. Of course, there are many different trends, so some of them probably are good for lead gen, but I'd say for the most part, 90% are just, fun formats that people found to go viral and get lots of views. And it's a good thing to get, people onto your page. And if your page is set up properly, then you can filter out the wrong kind of people and get the right kind of people to follow you. So I put that at C, just because most of the time you're not really going to get much out of it other than just more views, which is not always a bad thing if you do it the right way. I'm going to pick these at random. Let's see. And the next one I'm going to do is bold opinions. I'll put bold opinions, honestly, probably at A, just because bold opinions are the one thing that can really help differentiate you in today's market, because everybody is kind of competing on the same thing and everybody's learning from the same people and everybody's kind of all saying the same, different versions of the same thing. So the one way that you can really stick out is to have a really strong opinion about something, and your ideal avatars, which agree with you, are more likely to be attracted to your kind of content and want to work with you. A really good example of this is somebody like Jack Hopkins, who is an influencer, I guess, or has an info product, but basically in helping guys like him generate more leads and have, like, it's called the Icon Blueprint. I think it is, I'm not too sure, but he basically posts stuff that would be considered controversial and rubs people the wrong way. So he has a lot of haters, but he also has a lot of people that love him and want to work with him. And that's purely because he puts his neck out there and has a lot of bold opinions. And so that polarity is what brings people to his page and keeps them there or pushes them away. And it works out for him because obviously he has those opinions. So he'd want to work with people like that. So I would put that at A tier. Obviously, just keep in mind that when I say by bold opinion, it can be something related to your actual service or offer, but it can also just be an opinion that you have on, like, your outlook on life. Because like I said before, if you're competing only on value, it's going to be really hard. So if you get people on board with you as a person as well, based off your outlooks on life, it helps them want to choose you over the next guy who basically has the same offer, but hasn't shared that side of him, or maybe doesn't have that same opinion as you. So that's why bold opinions can be good at generating leads. All right, next up, we got basic tips. I'm going to put that at D for obvious reasons. This day and age, you don't need basic tips kind of videos unless you're just a noob and you're just starting out, because your basic tip videos have been replaced by people who've been posting them for a long time, way before you even started, or even by AI, which is where most people go whenever they have a question. So basic tips don't really help you stand out. Most people already know most of the basic tips because information is abundant. So you don't really need to be doing this kind of stuff. If you're going to post tips and tricks kind of videos, make it something that's so obscure that people haven't really heard of. So an example that I can give you is, a long time ago, I was watching this fitness influencer, I think, and he was also a model. And in his video, he was just doing like a day in the life. And he was explaining how he makes his teeth whiter by leaving the toothpaste in his mouth for 2 minutes after he brushes his teeth. Like, that is something that nobody's ever heard of, and in fact is a good like tips and tricks type of piece of content that you could put out, because not many people have heard that. But if you're gonna do in the same context of like fitness health, and you're gonna say like, for your tips to build muscle, like go to the gym and lift weights like that, nobody's gonna listen to that because it's obvious and everybody knows that. So don't try to avoid basic tips, because it's just impossible to differentiate yourself these days if you do it, and everybody kind of already intuitively knows what they need to do, so you don't need to be hammering down and saying the same thing over and over. Next up, we got motivational quotes. I'm going to put this around C as well, just because motivational quotes don't really separate you. There's tons of like really cool pages where they put compilations of famous people in their speeches saying, you know, motivational things, so they don't really need to go to you to see it. I think that, yeah, it's cool if you can kind of put your personality in it through B-roll shots, or if you're the one speaking in the motivational quotes, that's a lot better, because that'll get them to resonate with you. This kind of is almost similar to the bold opinions, because if you, or well, not really similar, but if you kind of speak about your situation and you make that a motivational video, that can also really resonate with people and get them to want to watch your content more. But I wouldn't really say that it turns them into a lead. Like, if you get somebody fired up and all that kind of stuff, they're not going to really be like, oh yeah, let me work with you, unless it's like a case study motivational quote. Like, it's trying to make it like really clear that this is just purely like motivational in general, not like any form of case studies or client results or that kind of stuff. So I wouldn't really put that high up on this list, just because I don't think that it would work very well. It would help you get more attention and get people to resonate with you for eventual, you know, opt-ins, or them becoming a lead when they follow your account and see your more bottom of funnel type content. I'll say why you're stuck breakdowns. This is a very specific video. I don't remember why I put this as a listicle, but I'll put that probably at A, just because it's not quite S tier, because it's kind of like putting someone in a box. But if you're gonna make why you're stuck breakdown videos, those are really good, because you can really shift the angles that you're speaking to your ICP with these kinds of videos, and you can really hit them where it hurts, because a lot of people don't need the motivation to do something because they're struggling to get started. They're struggling and they're in the same place for a long time, and that pain of not progressing is often a really big one, and it's very frustrating. So you can get people to be really invested in the video, and then eventually wanting to become they'll become a lead, because you're showing them that they're stuck because of this reason. And if you're really able to hit them with the reason why they are actually stuck, and they, you know, they agree with why you're saying that, you're really going to get them like in this emotional state where like, fuck, okay, I can't really afford to do this for another 3 months. And if you really pair this with like a client result, like my client was stuck doing this, he wasted 6 months of his time, he started working with me, and when within 1 month we got the result that he was trying to get, which he failed for 6 months. Like that kind of, let's say, juxtaposition, like that difference in places that somebody is going to really help you get people like want to work with you. So that's pretty good for generating leads. Next up, case studies, S tier for sure. Not much to say there, other than if you have case studies, you definitely want to prove that you know what you're doing and that you've done it for other people before. And I'm going to quickly do proof-led content as well with an S tier. This is a little bit different to case studies, because like a case study would be more like a breakdown. It's like, here's how I did XYZ for my client. My most notable case study that I have up on my channel is how we generated a $1.4 million sales pipeline for one of our clients. So that's like a full breakdown where I explain how we did what we did for our client in that video. And then for proof-led content, you would talk about like the general results that you brought, and then kind of how you did it. But the main difference between that and a case study is that your case study is about one specific person or one specific client, whereas proof-led content would be like your general results that you were able to bring, and then your system behind how you did it, or like the one thing that you changed, whatever it may be. And next up, we got day in the life kind of videos, and this is why I made the disclaimer at the beginning of the video. This kind of content is great for nurturing people and getting them a little bit more invested in you as a person, but probably won't be the reason why they become a lead of yours. So if you were to make a day in the life as a 27-year-old who's trying to train for high rocks or whatever, if you're a fitness coach, whatever niche you may be in, like, that's cool, but it's not very likely, unless you make it a more of a salesy type video where you kind of add value and have a CTA to get somebody to opt in. It's not very likely that somebody's going to want to work with you after seeing that video, but they are going to want to get closer to you by following more of your content and doing all that kind of stuff. So I wouldn't necessarily say it's a great lead gen type of content, but it's a great nurturing type of content that you can use to get people to want to learn more about you and to feel closer to you and all that kind of stuff. And this could be like one of the steps that they need to take before they're going to be like, okay, let me opt in the next time I see a story sequence. Aesthetic reels, I'm going to put that at probably C. Or D. No, I'm gonna put it at C because again, this is not a lead generating type of content unless you're selling like a program or like a coaching offer that's related to aesthetics. So if like there are a lot of coaches that teach people how to make really aesthetic personal brands that like really high value and look premium and luxury and that kind of stuff, then of course you need to have aesthetic looking reels. But this I would put at C just purely because it helps to elevate your value, make you seem a lot more trustworthy, consistent, all that kind of stuff. In fact, you really don't need your videos to look super pretty because there are tons of people who make the most basic looking videos and they're making like 1 million a month because what they're making in those videos is stuff that shifts people's beliefs, like, and actually rubs people the wrong way on purpose and gets them to change the way that they think about things. And that's not related to the aesthetics. Like, sure, you can pair that with an aesthetic reel, but if you're going purely for aesthetics, like I see people making these like amazingly really cool, like cinematic videos. Like it looks like somebody from Hollywood made it, but I can tell you for a fact that they're not making a lot of money just because of those videos. Like if they were, it would be because of all the other stuff that they're putting out as well. So static reels isn't something that I think that you should necessarily invest a whole lot in if you don't have the infrastructure for it. It's definitely good to have because it elevates your frame and it makes you look like a person of authority. Because obviously if you're filming on a freaking Samsung from 2012, then it won't look good. So you definitely need like a level of it, but I wouldn't say that this is the reason why people are gonna, become a lead of yours from that one like aesthetic video. Definitely helps, but if you want to get leads at the end of the day, I realize that this isn't in my list, but you have to make content that shifts people's belief and calls them out almost in a way, like not in a bad way, but just like not even exposing. It's just this is the reason why something isn't happening. It's kind of like why you're stuck breakdowns. Like these things where you shift somebody's belief is what is going to really get them to want to change and make that decision to work with you. Lifestyle flex, put that at B because it can work. If you're in a B2C offer, then lifestyle flex definitely works fit better because B2C offers are usually cheaper and then you're usually going after people who are trying to fill a gap or trying to get um, some elevated lifestyle or money. And I would say that they're usually more emotional buyers rather than B2B where, they're actually like methodological. They have a methodology and they're trying to be methodical. That's the word I was looking for about what they're trying to achieve. And so they're going to care more about the systems and all that kind of stuff. Whereas if you're selling like a basic $97 course or something like that, then flexing a Lambo is something that could work because it's more of an emotional thing. So I put that in B just because it's kind of in the middle and it depends on the offer that you're running. If you're selling an offer that's really high ticket and catered towards a B2B demographic, let's say ICP, then you're going to want to be a little bit more technical with your content. Like they won't really care about the fact that you have a Lambo because they probably have one too. And so it doesn't really matter. So B2C stuff is more so like for people who are trying to help the average person get rich. That works to show the lifestyle, show the nice cars and nice watches and all that kind of stuff, because that's kind of what they're really looking for. But if you're working with, you know, people or trying to work with people who are already making a lot of money, trust me, they won't care that you have a Lambo. Like, if they do, they're probably not a good client. Next up, we got value bombs. Put that at A. A is pretty good for that because value bombs, and what I mean by that is just like making videos that are super rich in value. I said this before where it's hard to really compete in value these days, but you need to pair that with content that will shift people's belief and content that will show your personality, because without it, it's going to be a bit harder for people to want to or to believe that you're able to actually, do the things that you say you're going to do. So if you use this in parallel to having bold opinions, why your stock breakdowns, proof-led content, case studies, that kind of stuff, then it works extremely well. But if you're going to be just using like pure only value-based videos, it's probably not going to work so well, at least not in 2025. Next up, we got myth busting content. This is kind of what I meant earlier. I just reread this and it made a bit more sense when I said content that shifts people's beliefs. So I would actually put this at S tier, and I'm going to just rename it really quick. Belief shifting content. This is the kind of content that I was talking about where you're saying something that goes almost against somebody's like belief system and you try to change it. And if you change it, you'll be the reason why, obviously, and that's going to be a good incentive for somebody to want to work with you. So that's definitely S tier. Up here, we got listicles. Listicles output probably B, D, sorry. Like, because Listicle videos, again, like I said, this is usually going to be something that has been commoditized by AI. So at the end of the day, somebody's gonna like ask like, hey AI, give me, or ChatGPT, give me like 20 of the best whatever, and then it'll quickly provide them a listicle. The only kind of listicle, again, which you would be able to compete with would be something that's personal. So like a listicle of like, maybe if you're looking for tools, you were to ask AI for its opinion, and then you can ask someone else, like you can ask me the tools that I use, and I can give you a list of those. But if I frame it as the ones that as something like, I've used all of these tools and here's my opinion from best to worst, and I kind of give you my personal experience, that's something that AI can't replicate. Of course, it can go and find out like the common complaints and reviews and all that kind of stuff, but that works well when you're posting this from the position of an authority. So I would just put Listicle pretty low though, because they're fun to read and they're useful, but unless you kind of tie it into you, it doesn't really work so well. Then at the very end, we got storytime content, and I'm actually going to put this at A, because people buy based off emotion and they buy a lot through storytelling. And I don't mean storytelling in the same way that you're seeing really popping off on Instagram these days, where it's, you know, those like everybody knows like the storytelling arc kind of videos now. That's not necessarily what I mean, but storytelling videos in the sense where it's like you explain a situation about where you were before and where you've come or something like that for your client is really good. But when I say storytelling in this context, I mean like really like heavily leaning into people's emotions and telling it in the same way you would a movie, so that it really hits people's emotions, and it's what gets people like really invested. Like I don't remember where I heard this, but I heard this a long time ago, where it was like a quote basically talking about how all of society was based on stories being told from generations to generations over like campfires and stuff like that. And I think that that's absolutely true, because that's what, like, humans are basically designed to interpret things based off stories. I'll try to find the quote now because I think it actually could be useful. So give me just a second. Damn, I don't want to expose all my tabs. All right, guys, so I managed to find not the exact quote, but something similar. But it's basically like, we are all storytellers. We all live in a network of stories. There isn't a stronger connection between people than storytelling. And I think that that's really true. So if you want to build that connection with your viewers, you have to start telling stories. And then if you obviously have a CTA at the very end of it, you can turn that into a massively successful lead generating type of content. All right, guys, thanks for watching the video. If you found it useful, make sure to drop a like and subscribe, and leave in the comments below if you like this different format that I did today. And if you want me to rank other things related to coaching or info offers, I thought this was pretty fun to do, but let me know what you thought below. And thanks again, and I'll see you guys in the next one.